Married to Brady for 8 years, Maxine had been secretly stalking his ex Polly's social media. In Polly's latest post, Maxine saw Brady's pre-written will: "Upon my death, all assets under my name shall be inherited by Polly." Brady: "Why write a will so early and leave everything to Polly? What about your wife?" Maxine stood at the entrance of DS law firm's office, holding Brady's favorite lotus-scented beef ribs. Just then, she heard her husband Brady's close friend Andy ask. Brady's cool voice replied, "My wife has our children to take care of, and Polly has never married. I hope after I die, she'll have someone to rely on." Andy asked again, "What if your wife finds out and gets angry?" Brady responded resolutely, "My wife has a gentle temperament. We've been married for 8 years, and she's never once raised her voice at me. She won't get angry." Andy puzzled, "Then why don't you divorce your wife and marry Polly? After all, your career is stable now. And you already have children. What's wrong with pursuing your own happiness?" Brady fell silent. "Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins." He thought of the ever-gentle and considerate, utterly uncomplaining yet insipid as water Maxine, and took a long while to respond. "Polly is only good for romance, not marriage. When I reach life's end, I'd still want my wife by my side." Brady didn't know that at this moment, the supposedly uncomplaining Maxine he spoke of was lowering her eyes. True to her nature, she didn't storm in to confront him, but calmly tossed the meal in her hands into a nearby trash bin. After turning and walking out of the law firm, Maxine suddenly felt exhausted. She didn't want to go home, so she hailed a cab and handed the driver $2,000. "Anywhere is fine, as long as it wasn't home." As the scenery flew past the car window, Maxine felt as if a boulder were pressing down on her heart. She and Brady had a marriage of convenience. Only after the wedding did she learn that Brady had an unforgettable white moonlight in his heart, Polly. Maxine only discovered after marriage that Brady and Polly had been together for 5 years. Only then did she learn everything about them. Only then did she realize how deeply in love they were. Only then did I learn they broke up not because they fell out of love, but due to Brady's mom's interference. Polly came from a poor family. Her father was an alcoholic. Her mother remarried, and Brady's mom considered her background unsuitable, a mismatch in social status. Most crucially, Polly had hereditary hemolytic anemia. Brady's mom couldn't accept such a daughter-in-law. To force their breakup, she resorted to life-threatening ultimatums and even sought out Polly personally, kneeling before her to pressure her into leaving. Even so, the two refused to break up. But in the end, for some unknown reason, Polly was the one who left. Brady only married her because his parents demanded it. After marriage, Maxine always dutifully fulfilled her role as Mrs. Fitzgerald. Brady's private affairs were never her concern. Her in-laws deliberately made things difficult for her, but she never talked back. After giving birth to a son, she never let Brady worry about the child's education and upbringing. He never had to worry about Brady anything at home. Maxine had thought that speaking less, doing more, and being virtuous and sensible would maintain family stability and earn respect from her husband's relatives. But now I realize that endless forbearance and compromise won't earn respect, only contempt. The moon rose as the sun set. It wasn't until 9 p.m. that Maxine returned to Cloud Harbor Villa. The night had fallen completely. As soon as she entered the house, she saw Claude doing homework with Brady, whose brow was slightly furrowed. Brady didn't even look up. "Why didn't you answer my call this afternoon? Claude finished school at 4 and waited for you at school for 2 hours." Sitting at the study desk, Claude wore the same stern expression as his father Brady. "Mom, you don't do anything at home all day. How could you still forget to pick me up?" Listening to the questioning from father and son, in the past, Maxine would have immediately apologized. But she remembered not long ago, in Polly's social media, she had seen Claude calling Polly godmother at the amusement park. Maxine said coldly, "I'm going to work now. Let the butler pick you up from now on." Claude was stunned. Brady beside her also looked surprised. "Why suddenly decide to go to work?" Maxine replied without changing her expression, "No reason. Just that Claude has grown up, and I want to have my own life too." Having said that, she ignored the father and son and returned to her room alone. Maxine couldn't help but walk to the bedside table and pull out a small notebook from the bottom drawer, open it, and inside lie 5 dust-covered sentences. They were also the 5 wishes she never fulfilled before marriage. Looking at those wishes, Maxine realized she had never truly lived for herself. Maxine looked at her first wish. It was simply to drink a cup of milk tea and eat a hot pot meal. She had been raised with strict discipline since childhood. Always the obedient daughter in her family, the epitome of a well-educated and refined young lady in the eyes of outsiders. After marriage, she became what others saw as Mrs. Fitzgerald, the model wife and mother, so up until now, she had never once tasted bubble tea or tried hot pot. At this thought, Maxine closed her notebook, she changed her clothes and left the house. She had the driver take her to the nearest hot pot restaurant. Sitting in the restaurant, Maxine ordered the house specialty and also got a cup of milk tea. The milk tea was delicious, and the hot pot was tasty too. She just never expected that such a small wish would take her over a decade to fulfill. Midway, her phone rang. Maxine had thought it was Brady calling, but it turned out to be just her alarm. 10 p.m. Remember to warm milk for Claude and check his homework. Maxine glanced at it, turned off the alarm, and permanently deleted all the alarms set in her phone. By the time they finished the hot pot and left the restaurant, it was already 1 a.m. Aimlessly walking down the street, at this moment, even the wind seemed sweet. The sun rose and the moon set. The dawn light was faint. Maxine had just returned home. Brady and their son Claude were already up. Seeing Maxine return, Brady asked calmly, "Were you at the old house last night?" After 8 years of marriage, Brady's mom had always treated her daughter-in-law Maxine like a servant. She often ordered her to go to the old house in the middle of the night, so Brady naturally assumed she hadn't returned all night because she'd gone to the old house. He didn't care at all that Maxine had disappeared for a night. Maxine knew he didn't care and didn't want to explain further to him. Her son Claude pouted in grievance at this moment. "Mom, before you went to the old house, you forgot to prepare breakfast for me and Dad in advance." Claude and Brady were picky eaters with high standards, which is why Maxine had put considerable effort into learning from renowned chefs. "Never thought that now even my son would take it for granted to make demands of me." Maxine changed into slippers and looked at him calmly. "I didn't forget, I just don't feel like doing it anymore." Hearing this, Claude wore an expression of utter disbelief. Meanwhile, Brady handed a piece of toast to his son with eyes devoid of any warmth. Claude wrinkled his little face. "It's disgusting. I won't eat it." In the past, Claude not eating would have made Maxine extremely worried, and she'd try every trick to coax him. But now, Maxine watched the scene with complete indifference. She heated a cup of milk for herself. Brady's gaze swept past her indifferently as he dropped a casual remark, "There's a parent-child event at Claude's school at 9 a.m. today. Don't forget." Maxine's grip on the cup tightened. "I already told you yesterday that I have to go to work." Only now did she realize Brady had never taken her words seriously. Brady paused slightly at her icy tone. After 8 years of marriage, this was the first time he'd seen his gentle-natured wife angry. As he was about to explain, Claude beside him lowered his voice. "Daddy, can I ask my godmother to go with me?" Brady withdrew his gaze upon hearing this. "Sure, but keep it a secret from Mom." His voice was just loud enough to reach Maxine's ears. However, Maxine remained indifferent, silently eating her bread and drinking milk. Brady could no longer restrain himself after having the butler send their son to school, and walked up to Maxine. "Maxine, what's been going on with you these past 2 days?" Maxine looked up at Brady upon hearing this, suddenly wanting to ask the question she'd kept buried in her heart for 8 years. "I want to ask you a question." "What?" Brady asked in confusion. "If you hadn't married me but your ex Polly, would you have let her be a housewife, staying home to take care of you and the kids?" Brady pressed his thin lips together, remaining silent without answering. Maxine forced a bitter smile at the sight, her long lashes veiling the disappointment in her eyes. In 8 years of marriage, she had only mentioned Polly to Brady during their first year together. At that time, Brady had been furious, throwing a massive tantrum and subjecting her to a month of silent treatment. Since then, she never dared utter the name Polly again. Now, she didn't want to care about anything anymore, she just wanted to hear Brady's answer. But after a long while, all she heard was Brady changing the subject. "Do whatever you want from now on." With those words, he turned and left. Maxine watched his retreating figure, the bread in her mouth losing all flavor. She set down her cup and returned to her room. Having not slept a wink last night, she rebelliously stayed in bed this morning and slept until noon. After waking up, Maxine was determined to fulfill her second wish: cut my hair, wear the clothes I like, and put on makeup. In the past, mindful of her status, she could only wear light makeup and keep her hair long, straight, and black. But now, she walked into the hair salon, sat down, and said to the stylist, "Please dye my hair chestnut brown and cut it into a short bob." The barber was somewhat puzzled. "Miss, your hair is so long and beautiful, why do you want to cut it short?" "Because I don't like it," Maxine replied, staring at her unchanging reflection in the mirror. The barber didn't understand if she didn't like it. Why had she let it grow so long in the first place? Your hair is so well maintained, it'd be such a shame to cut it short and dye it. Maxine didn't hesitate and said word by word, as long as it pleases you, it's never a shame. Strand by strand, her meticulously cared for long hair was cut off. She felt as if the shackles that had bound her for the first half of her life had disappeared, leaving her body light and free. 2 hours later, the barber looked at the short-haired Maxine in the mirror and couldn't help but admire. Your short hair looks really beautiful. Maxine was also surprised. This was the first time she'd seen a different version of herself. After paying, she headed to the clothing store. Her clothes used to be hand-tailored by Italian designers, in the monotonous color schemes of high society ladies. Now she wants to buy whatever clothes she desires. The moment she stepped in, a shop assistant approached her. Madam, what kind of clothes are you looking for? Something minimalist like what you're wearing now. Maxine shook her head. No, I want to change my style. She changed into a rose-pink dress and had the sales assistant apply light makeup for her. When she saw her completely transformed self in the mirror, Maxine stood frozen for a long, long time. She walked out of the clothing store. Maxine was preparing to go home when she spotted Brady and Polly walking toward her, leading Claude by the hand. She instinctively wanted to turn and avoid them, but before she could move, Brady and the other two had already brushed past her. Claude's childish voice rang out. Godmother, I behaved so well at school today, can I have one more ice cream later? In that instant, Maxine realized Brady didn't recognize her at all, or perhaps he simply didn't care about her. Meanwhile, Brady, who had already walked away, instinctively turned his head. His gaze followed Maxine's receding figure, lost in thought, but she quickly averted her gaze. Through the reflection in the storefront window, Maxine watched the three figures gradually fade into the distance. She recalled a sentence she had once read in a book, without spiritual connection. Marriage is essentially just two strangers living under the same roof, each lonely in their own way. Maxine let out a self-deprecating laugh. Brady was never lonely. She took out the notebook from her bag and saw her third wish. Buy back my beloved car and ride a motorcycle again. Immediately, she dialed her best friend Aurora's number. Aurora, are you free? Come with me to buy back my motorcycle. Aurora agreed without hesitation. I'll pick you up. An hour later, Aurora took Maxine back to her own home. Under Maxine's bewildered gaze, she pressed the button to open the garage door. A red motorcycle stood right in the center. Maxine widened her eyes. Aurora met Maxine's reddened eyes and smiled knowingly. Speaking first, I knew you'd want to have it back someday, so I've been keeping it for you all this time. Maxine felt a lump in her throat as she hugged her best friend. Aurora, thank you, as the red motorcycle cut through the night. With the wind lifting their clothes, Maxine felt truly alive again. This time, she didn't return home until 2 a.m. When she got home, Brady and their son were gone. The housekeeper was momentarily startled by Maxine's appearance, but quickly composed herself. Madam, the master has taken the young master back to the old residence. He asked me to inform you that he won't be returning these few days. I understand. Maxine raised her hand to stop the butler's words. She knew exactly what Brady meant. In the past, whenever she made a mistake, Brady would take Claude back to the old mansion and give her the silent treatment, waiting for her to come begging for forgiveness. But now, she wouldn't go to the old mansion, wouldn't plead for forgiveness. Family should understand each other, not demand endless compromise from just one person. The following week, Maxine spent her evenings riding motorcycles on the Mountain Loop Road, her days shopping for clothes with her best friend Aurora, and began taking back control of the company her late mother had left her. Throughout the week, Brady and his son Claude never returned, nor did they send her a single message. Without Maxine, they lived happily. Every night Maxine could see the photos and videos her son Claude posted in the family group chat. Dad took me to Universal Studios today. I'm so happy. Dad said delicious food should be shared with the people you love most, so I brought Grandma some tasty cheese yogurt. Claude posted another photo on his social media, a picture of 3 shadows, 2 large and 1 small. There are comments from relatives below. Claude went out to play with Mom and Dad. What a happy family of 3. Claude replied, not with Mom though. Watching Claude's flood of posts on the social feed, Maxine silently removed him from her starred friends list, unpinned his chat, and revoked his special notification status. In the past, Claude could always count on her being the first to like and comment on every social media post. She'd reply to messages instantly, respond to everything, never leave him hanging in conversations. Greeting him with the earliest good morning and bidding the latest good night each day. These were all Maxine's ways of loving her son in days gone by, but now she was taking back her love. bit by bit. Maxine had cancelled everything when Brady sent her a message. It was the first time in 8 years of marriage, during their Cold War, that Brady had reached out to her on his own. When you come back to the old house tomorrow, please bring Claude's favorite Gundam toy. The same polite detachment remained, as if Maxine were merely a household servant. She didn't reply, turned off her phone, and fell into a deep sleep. The next day marked the beginning of autumn. Early in the morning, the driver took Maxine to the old family residence. Brady's mom was a very traditional person. Aside from hosting banquets for important holidays, she also insisted on family gatherings to mark the changing of seasons. Maxine, as the eldest daughter-in-law of the Fitzgerald family, was always expected to be present to receive relatives and guests. For 8 years of marriage, she had never missed a single occasion. When she arrived at the villa, Maxine overheard the guests inside talking about her. "Brady, why didn't Maxine come with you earlier? Something came up at home." "She'll be here this morning," Brady replied calmly. Maxine pushed the door open and walked in at that moment. The crowd instantly fell silent. And Brady also flashed a look of shock in his eyes when he saw her. He saw his wife, who never wore makeup, had applied delicate light makeup today. Her originally waterfall-like long hair was now cut short and dyed, while her usual pale-colored clothes were replaced by a begonia red dress. "Maxine, why did you just come like this?" Everyone came to their senses with some surprise. "Maxine, why did you cut your hair and put on makeup?" Drinking tea nearby. Brady's mom heard this and finally looked at her daughter-in-law, her eyes filled with disbelief. She stood up and walked over to Maxine, saying coldly in front of everyone, "What kind of outfit is this? Go change and come back." Always obedient and sensible, Maxine didn't comply with Brady's mom's wishes this time. She replied word by word, "Mom, dressing is my freedom. I don't want to change." Brady's mom was stunned. This was the first time Maxine had contradicted her. The crowd couldn't help but feel astonished at this scene. Maxine has always been gentle and dignified. What's gotten into her? Brady, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. Maxine apologized to Mom. Her son Claude also approached with a stern little face. "Mommy, I don't like you like this." Maxine watched the two figures, one large, one small, and felt nothing but irony. This was her husband and son. In front of everyone, she said to Brady, "I did nothing wrong. And I won't apologize." Then, she turned her gaze to her son, Claude. "I don't care if you don't like me, I really like who I am." With that, she turned and walked away, ignoring the strange looks from everyone. After leaving the Fitzgerald family's old mansion, Maxine couldn't resist taking out the little notebook from her bag. The fourth wish written inside read, "Find someone who truly loves you." Maxine remembered before her wedding. She had visited Fitzgerald's house once to attend Brady's mom's birthday. At that time, Brady brought Polly home to meet his parents. Brady's mom had the servant pour a cup of geisha coffee for Polly. Polly merely furrowed her brows slightly while drinking her coffee. Brady's mom scoffed, "Not to your taste, is it? People from different social strata are accustomed to different things. You two simply aren't suited for each other." Because of this remark, Brady flew into a tremendous rage. He resolutely took Polly away from his mother's birthday celebration. Even later, Brady's mom threatened to kill herself to force them to break up. Brady still stood up for Polly, but he had never stood up for himself. Just like today when her mother-in-law humiliated her in front of so many people, he didn't say a word in her defense. Sitting in the car on the way home, Maxine thought about everything that had happened and couldn't help but make a phone call. The call took a long time to connect. And a magnetic voice came through. "Maxine, Grover, can I ask you something? Do you have a girlfriend now? Are you married?" Maxine murmured. The man on the other end fell silent. After a long pause, he replied with just 2 words, "Never have." Maxine's heart instantly leaped. "Then would you mind getting back together with me? Starting a new relationship with me again?" Grover responded quickly this time. "What about your husband and kids then?" Outside the car window, rain had begun to fall unnoticed. Maxine watched the raindrops slide down the glass, her voice barely audible. "They have people they love. I don't matter. I'm in Los Angeles now and still need to handle company matters. I'll be back in 3 days." Grover said just one sentence before hanging up the phone. Meanwhile, Maxine stared blankly at the long memorized phone number, lost in thought. Grover was her childhood sweetheart and first love. But at that time, the Duncan family had fallen on hard times, and her father tore them apart. Later, she entered into a marriage of convenience with Brady and never contacted Grover again. Even 5 years after their breakup, though they lived in the same city, they never once crossed paths. Returning to Cloud Harbor Villa, Maxine had just stepped out of the car when she spotted a slender woman in a beige haute couture dress standing at the villa's entrance. She recognized at a glance that the woman was Brady's ex, Polly. Polly turned around, her face carrying a sickly pallor, and walked up to Maxine. "Mrs. Fitzgerald, hello." Maxine stood still, unsure of what she intended to do, and remained silent. Polly forced a faint smile, her eyes tinged with sorrow. "I believe you already know who I am, so I'll skip the introductions." Maxine was taken aback and instinctively asked, "May I ask what brings you here? Seeing you and Brady so happy together with a child truly warms my heart. I came here to ask you to take good care of him," Polly replied. Maxine didn't understand what she meant. Polly continued, "Brady is a good man, very responsible. He once said he wanted to spend his whole life with me, to grow old together, but my health is poor. I'm not worthy of him. I can't spend my life with him, nor grow old together. This wish can only be fulfilled by you now," Maxine said calmly. "Did you come just to say these things?" Before she could see Polly, she spotted Brady's car approaching. Polly also saw it and replied to her, "I know you've been silently following me for 8 years. I came this time just to reassure you I won't compete with you for Brady." With that, she turned and left. As Polly turned away, Maxine saw Brady quickly get out of the car and run toward her. At this moment, she suddenly felt like such a failure. Chapter 6. Brady felt a momentary tension upon seeing Polly's departing figure, but feigned composure as he asked Maxine, "Who are you just talking to?" Maxine maintained her usual expression, "Just asking for directions." Brady visibly relaxed upon hearing this. At that moment, Claude, who had gotten off the car with them, pointed at Polly's retreating figure and blurted out, "That looks like." Before he could finish, Brady stopped him. "Claude, don't forget our secret." Claude immediately covered his mouth. "Right, this is our secret, we can't tell Mom." After speaking, father and son both looked at Maxine. "A secret." Maxine murmured the 2 words repeatedly, a trace of sorrow flashing through her eyes. Wasn't it just about him being with Polly behind her back? Their secret she had known all along. Without asking anything, she walked straight into the villa. Brady and Claude were somewhat incredulous. They had expected Maxine to ask, "What's the secret?" I didn't expect her reaction to be so indifferent. She didn't say a word. Maxine hadn't been back in her room for long when Brady knocked and entered. He sat on the edge of the bed and got straight to the point. "Let's talk. I know all these years, you've given so much for this family, for me and Claude. It's been hard, exhausting. Everything you've done, I've seen it all. Although ours is a marriage of convenience, I still hope to walk hand in hand with you through the rest of our lives. I want the person by my side in the end to be you." Hearing this, Maxine recalled what Brady had privately told his close friend not long ago. "Polly is good for dating, but my wife is good for marriage, so when I grow old, I still want my wife by my side. Dating means pampering your girlfriend, while marriage means having your wife take care of you. Why can't I be the one who is loved?" Maxine looked up at Brady. "After 8 years of marriage, I've never asked anything of you. Since you know how hard I've worked to keep this household running and want to spend the rest of your life with me, as your wife, I'm now making my first request." Brady asked in confusion, "What request? Can you stop silently watching Polly from now on?" Maxine said slowly. Brady froze. He didn't know how Maxine had discovered his secret observations of Polly. Meanwhile, Maxine found the situation particularly amusing. The reason she could see Polly's social media posts was due to big data recommendations. Once upon a time, Polly loved posting videos, while Brady would secretly follow them. Big data then recommended Polly to Maxine. The air suddenly grew thin. After a long silence, Brady finally spoke. "I can agree to anything else, but not this." At this moment, Maxine saw right through Brady. She had only been testing Brady, but didn't expect him to refuse even the courtesy of a lie. If there's no love, one won't even bother to deceive. Perhaps it's for the best. The day after tomorrow, I can set him free and let him follow Polly as he pleases. That night, Brady stayed. The two lay in bed, each occupying their own side. Neither crossed the empty space between them. The next day, Maxine woke up to find Brady long gone. Her phone vibrated, a notification alert. Polly had sent her a private video. In the clip, Polly, Brady, and Claude posed in matching family outfits for photo shoots, looking ridiculously childish. Caption: "A scene I once dreamed of has come true in reality. You, me, and our child, our little family of 3 together. So happy, so blissful." Maxine didn't finish watching the video before deleting and blocking Polly. After that, she spent the entire morning throwing out all those unchanging clothes from the walk-in closet. In the afternoon, She went to the household registration office. Maxine handed the prepared materials to the staff. "Hello. I'd like to change my name and update my identity information." The staff took the materials and said to Maxine as a matter of routine, "If you change your name, all your identity information will be updated, and your previous identity details will no longer be valid. Remember to update it at the marriage registration office later, otherwise your old marriage certificate will become invalid." Maxine nodded. "Yes, I understand." The staff member continued asking, "So what name would you like to change to?" "Just call me Maxine Jonathan." She used to go by her father's surname Gilbert, but now she would take her mother's surname Jonathan. Her mother once told her, "In this life, your own happiness matters most." In the past, she had always compromised and sacrificed herself for the Gilbert family. Now, she wanted to go find her own happiness, never to be trapped in this cage again. 5 hours later, Maxine's identity information was completely altered. She walked out of the household registration office, looked up at the azure sky, and tightly clutched her brand new household register and ID card, feeling as if she had been reborn. From this moment on, Maxine no longer existed in this world, and she was no longer Brady's wife. It was already evening when we returned to Cloud Harbor Villa. Brady and Claude didn't come back all night. After finishing her bedtime routine and lying in bed, she received 2 messages. One was Brady's explanation: "I brought Claude to the amusement park. We got tired after playing, so we're staying at a nearby hotel tonight and won't be coming back." The other was Grover's flight information: "Arriving at airport tomorrow at 1 p.m. Maxine knew Brady and Claude weren't at the amusement park at all. They'd been with Polly the whole time. But she didn't care, typing back to Brady, "Got it." Then she replied to Grover, "Okay, I'll pick you up on time." After sending the messages, she put down her phone and went to sleep peacefully. I slept straight through until 10 o'clock the next morning. Brady and Claude still hadn't returned. Maxine went downstairs for breakfast. She had just sat down in the dining room when she saw Brady, dressed in beige sportswear, leading Claude inside. Claude was wearing matching sportswear, carrying a little bear backpack, and had a sun hat on his head. Brady immediately spotted the suitcase placed in the living room. "Are you going somewhere?" Maxine nodded. Claude walked toward her upon seeing this. "Mom, when will you be back?" Before Maxine could answer, he continued, "Can you stay away longer?" Maxine instantly understood her son's meaning and unconsciously tightened her grip on the chopsticks. He wanted her to stay away longer so they wouldn't need excuses to accompany Polly anymore. "Okay." Brady probably thought his son's words were inappropriate, so he stepped forward to pull Claude aside. "Didn't you come back to find your toy? Go on." Claude returned to the children's room. Brady explained to Maxine, "You haven't been out for a long time. Claude just wanted you to take more walks and relax. Don't overthink it." Maxine softly hummed in acknowledgement and said nothing more. The living room fell silent for a moment, leaving only the sound of Maxine's breakfast utensils clinking. Before long, Claude came downstairs holding a toy. "Dad, let's go." Brady stood up and straightened Claude's collar. "Say goodbye to Mom." Claude waved impatiently. "Bye, Mom." Maxine didn't respond, because they wouldn't meet again. She watched their figures disappear, put down her chopsticks, and picked up the suitcase. Before leaving, Maxine left a note: "Where the money is, there the love is. Brady, I know the name on your will isn't mine, but Polly S. I also know you and Claude have been secretly meeting Polly behind my back. I don't want to be Mrs. Fitzgerald anymore. I want to be myself again. So, I don't need you anymore." Then, she headed to the airport without looking back. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a slender and upright figure emerged from the airport's VIP passage. After 3 years, Maxine saw Grover again, and her eyes instantly reddened. Grover walked straight toward her. "Why isn't your first reaction upon seeing me happiness? Instead, it's sadness. Did someone bully you?" Maxine choked up, unable to speak. Grover raised his hand and pulled her into his embrace. "It's okay, I'm back." Maxine held Grover tightly, her lips trembling as she whispered, "Grover, do you still want to be with me now?" Grover gently stroked her chestnut short hair. "If I didn't want to, I wouldn't have come back. I've changed my name and identity. I won't be Maxine anymore." "Will you take me away with you forever?" Grover answered without any hesitation. "Okay." An hour later, the two boarded a flight to Los Angeles. Maxine sat beside Grover and took out her wish list again. She checked off her final wish, the 5th one on the list: indulge for once, be completely yourself. The moment the plane took off, at the amusement park, Polly was pulling Claude to buy ice cream when he suddenly clutched his chest, his little face scrunching up in pain. Polly looked worried. "Claude, what's wrong?" Claude turned pale. clutching his chest as if unable to speak. Nearby, Brady, who had been handling work calls, immediately hung up and approached Claude. "Claude, what's wrong?" Claude pointed to his heart and said, "I don't know, it just suddenly hurts here." Witnessing this, Polly furrowed her brows with concern. "Let's take Claude to the hospital. He's still young, we can't risk anything happening." Brady nodded, picked up Claude, and walked out of the amusement park. In the car, Claude curled up in Polly's arms, his face pale. "Godmother, when I get better, can we come again? I want to watch the fireworks with you." Polly's heart softened as she hugged Claude tightly. "How can you be so thoughtful, Claude? But more than fireworks. Godmother just wants you to be healthy." After speaking, she looked at Brady. "You've raised Claude so well, he really takes after you." Brady met Polly's intense gaze through the rearview mirror, his dark eyes flickering. "My wife taught me well, I'm busy with work, so she's the one taking care of Claude." Polly lowered her eyes at these words, concealing the peculiar emotion in her gaze. "Should we call Claude's mom? Since Claude isn't feeling well, as his mother, she should be by his side right now." Before Brady could speak, Claude grabbed Polly. "No, I want my godmother to stay with me." Polly couldn't suppress a smile at these words. "All right, then your godmother will stay with you." Brady watched the scene without a word, only to suddenly feel a pang of something unpleasant in his heart. At the hospital, Brady carried his son and rushed to the emergency room. After a series of examinations, the doctor approached Brady with the test results. "The child is in perfect health, no issues at all." Brady looked at the results and felt relieved. "Good, thank you, doctor." Claude had now regained his energy and was pestering Polly again. "Godmother, haven't you always wanted to go camping? Let's go together tomorrow." "Okay." Polly nodded with a smile but pretended to worry. "But Claude should tell your mom first, so she won't worry." "No need. Mom's gone out and won't be back for a long time. I can stay with you the whole time. No more listening to mom's nagging." Claude had barely finished speaking when Brady stepped forward and picked him up. "Godmother isn't in good health, don't always pester her." Polly waved her hands repeatedly. "It's all right, Brady. I really like Claude. I'm happy he wants to be close to me." As she spoke, a bitter smile tugged at the corner of her lips, and she murmured, "If we had gotten married back then, our child might have been as adorable as Claude." Brady turned his head away to avoid Polly's gaze. "My wife is away for a while. I'll bring Claude to keep you company more often. I'll take you back to rest first, and I'll pick you up for camping tomorrow morning." Brady first drove Polly home, then took Claude back to Cloud Harbor Villa. The moment he stepped into the villa, Brady suddenly felt an emptiness in his heart, as if he had lost something important. At that moment, Claude tugged at Brady's sleeve. "Daddy, I'm feeling uncomfortable here again. I miss Mom a little, I want to call Mom." This was Claude's first time actively saying he missed his mother since starting elementary school. Brady, seeing how distressed his son was, bent down to hold him in his arms. Sitting on the sofa, he took out his phone and dialed Maxine's number. When the call connected, a cold mechanical female voice came through the receiver. "Sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service." Hearing this, father and son froze in place. Claude blinked his grape-like big eyes at Brady and asked, "Daddy, did you dial the wrong number?" Brady looked at the contact name Maxine in his call log, confirming he hadn't misdialed. He dialed the number again, but it still showed as disconnected. Brady frowned slightly, put down his phone, and gestured for the butler to come over. "Did Madam mention where she was going before she left?" The butler hesitated for a long moment before finally pulling a note from his pocket. "The mistress didn't say where she was going. After she left, I found a note she'd left on the dining table." Brady took it, his face turning cold upon reading the words, yet without any guilt of having his secret exposed. In that instant, he finally understood why Maxine had changed so much recently. Claude leaned over to look, his eyes widening in shock when he saw what was written on the paper. "Daddy, did Mommy abandon us?" Brady crumpled the paper into a ball and tossed it aside. "That's not true. Your mother could never bear to leave us. She's just been feeling down lately and went out to clear her mind. She'll be back soon." Whether comforting his son or trying to convince himself, his eyes involuntarily drifted toward the entryway as he spoke these words, his emotions in turmoil. After hearing his father's words, Claude pondered carefully and found it reasonable. He was his mother's son after all, how could she possibly abandon him? As he thought about it, Claude tugged at Brady's sleeve. "Dad, when will Mom come back?" Brady stroked his son's soft hair and said with conviction, "Very soon. She couldn't bear to be away from us for long. Can we still go camping with Godmother tomorrow?" "Fine." After receiving Brady's affirmative reply, Claude couldn't help but cheer. "Great, then I'll go to bed early tonight so I can spend more time with Godmother before Mom comes back." With that, he jumped off the sofa and followed the butler upstairs to sleep. After Claude left, Brady sat on the sofa, opened WeChat, and sent a message to Maxine in their chat window. "When are you coming back? I'll bring Claude to pick you up." The message sent successfully, and Brady unconsciously let out a sigh of relief, more convinced that Maxine was just throwing a tantrum. Otherwise, why would she only deactivate her phone number without blocking him on WeChat? Wasn't it just to leave a way out? Waiting for him to coax her back. At this thought, Brady felt his unease dissipate. He put away his phone and returned to the bedroom to rest. Neither father nor son took Maxine's note seriously. Brady was certain Maxine was just throwing a tantrum because he had deceived her. She would never bring herself to leave them. When Maxine cools down, she'll come back on her own. At the same time, 800 kilometers away in Los Angeles, Maxine and Grover landed safely. As they disembarked, Grover held Maxine's hand and walked toward the airport exit. Maxine lowered her gaze to their intertwined hands, feeling her heart gradually settle into calm. His large, well-defined hand enveloped hers completely, radiating a sense of security that transported them back to their passionate love affair 10 years ago. Grover noticed Maxine's upturned lips, softening the lines of his face as he tightened his grip on her hand. As they walked out of the airport and got into the car, Grover handed Maxine a new phone. "Since you've decided to start over, forget everything from the past. With your new identity, let's start a new relationship. This time, you don't need to compromise for anyone. Just be yourself." Maxine's old phone had long been discarded at the airport. She took the new phone, looked at the fresh account and contacts inside, and tightly grasped Grover's hand. "All right, let's start over." This time, she wouldn't compromise herself for anyone. On the other side, YG Villa, Brady. The next morning after waking up, he picked up his phone from beside the pillow and opened WeChat. The chat box contained nothing but work messages. His message to Maxine lay lonely in the chat box, unanswered. Brady frowned slightly, his grip on the phone tightening unconsciously. After 8 years of marriage, Maxine had always replied to his messages instantly. Even if Maxine was in the shower, she would dry her hands immediately to reply to his message, never letting it wait overnight. After a long while, Brady put down his phone, rubbed his temples, and got out of bed to wash up. He had promised the child to take Polly camping today and couldn't go back on his word. While choosing clothes in the walk-in closet, he picked up sportswear but then set it down, opened Maxine's WeChat, and sent her another message. "Where did I put my grey tracksuit? I couldn't find it in the walk-in closet." He waited for 5 minutes, but still received no reply. The message sank like a stone. Brady felt an inexplicable irritation rising in his chest. He exited the chat page, casually grabbed a black tracksuit, put it on, and went downstairs. Claude had packed early and was waiting downstairs for him. Seeing Brady come downstairs, Claude couldn't wait to shoulder his camping bag and ran up to him. "Dad, let's go." Brady nodded, took his son's hand, and gave instructions to the butler before leaving. "If Madam returns, notify me immediately." The butler responded, "Very well." Brady drove with his son to pick up Polly, and the three of them headed to Creekwood Campground for their camping trip. After setting up the tent, Claude jumped around inside excitedly, taking photos with his phone to share in the family group chat and on social media. When the photos were posted in the family group and on social media, the Fitzgerald's elders liked and commented on them one after another. Claude waited for a long time, but never received a reply from Maxine. Moments later, he threw his phone aside, pouting with puffed cheeks as he stomped off to find Brady. "Daddy, why didn't Mommy like my social media post?" Hearing this, Brady paused while setting the dining table. "Mom is busy, she'll check your moments when she's done," Claude said half doubtfully. "Then I'll take some more photos." With that, he grabbed his phone and ran off clattering to take pictures everywhere. Nearby, Polly, who had heard the whole conversation, walked over to Brady and said, "Brady, are you having issues with your wife?" Brady had never hidden anything from Polly, but this time, for some reason, he didn't want to answer truthfully and just brushed it off. No, Polly had been with Brady for 5 years and knew him inside out. She instantly recognized he was being evasive. She adjusted the shawl around her shoulders and continued, "You're sulking, aren't you? Women still need to be coaxed. Back when we were together, no matter how fiercely we argued, the moment I frowned, you'd immediately soften and come to comfort me." As she spoke, a trace of loneliness surfaced on her face, and she murmured, "After the breakup, no one has treated me this well anymore." Brady didn't continue the topic. He pulled a chair over and placed it behind Polly, saying, "Sit and rest for a while. I'll call you when the barbecue ingredients are ready." Polly shook her head and walked over to Brady. "My body isn't that fragile yet. You don't have to treat me like a delicate object, I'll help you." Seeing this, Brady said nothing more. The two stood side by side preparing ingredients. Many families had come camping today, and cheerful laughter surrounded them. Polly gazed at Claude playing with children not far away, then glanced at Brady beside her who was focused on preparing ingredients. A faint smile rippled in her clear eyes as she couldn't help but speak up. "Brady, I feel so happy right now. I wish we could live like this forever, with you, me, and our children." Brady parted his thin lips, about to say something when Claude ran back and interrupted. "Godmother, I want to take a photo with you." Polly agreed immediately. "All right." The two of them pulled Brady along to take many group photos together. Claude posted the trio's photo on his social media, selecting only Mom can see before clicking publish. Brady, unaware of his son's little maneuver, prepared the barbecue ingredients and then called him and Polly to start grilling. Officially kicking off the camping trip, the three of them were happily enjoying themselves, and Polly's pale complexion now carried a faint blush. Passing tourists couldn't help but remark when they saw the trio, "What a good-looking family of three. They seem so happy together." The three of them just smiled upon hearing this, none bothering to correct or refute. Midway through the meal, Polly took out her phone to snap photos and updated her social media feed. "I hope this happy moment can last a little longer." After successfully posting the video, she screenshotted it and privately sent it to Maxine. After sending it, Polly casually put away her phone and continued camping with the father and son. Late at night, the three returned to their respective tents, planning to watch the sunrise before heading back to the city the next morning. Claude opened his social media before bed. The post visible only to his mother had no likes or comments beneath it. Maxine neither liked nor commented. Claude didn't even know if she had seen it. After washing up, Brady walked into the tent and saw his son's scrunched up little face. "What's wrong?" he asked. Claude handed the phone to Brady. "Daddy, you lied. Mom didn't like my post at all." Brady glanced at it, frowned as he deleted the post, and said sternly, "We agreed to keep it from Mom while visiting Auntie. Why did you still post it on Moments?" Claude finally realized what he had done wrong. Lowering his head, he replied softly, "I'm sorry, Dad, I just wanted Mom to pay attention to me." Brady rubbed his temples and deleted all the social media posts Claude had made that day. "Don't ever do this again. Go to sleep. We'll watch the sunrise tomorrow morning and then head back." Claude obediently curled up under the blanket. Before closing his eyes, he spoke again. "Dad, when Mom comes back, let's bring her camping too." With that, he closed his eyes and went to sleep. Outside the tent, the cicadas chirped incessantly. Brady lay inside the tent and opened his chat with Maxine again. But Maxine still hadn't replied to him. A sleepless night. The next day, the three of them woke up early to watch the sunrise before heading back to the city. Having woken up too early, Claude returned to Cloud Harbor Villa and went back to his room to catch up on sleep. Brady also went to the study to deal with the backlog of work from the past few days. After finishing his work, Claude had also woken up. The two came to the dining room for lunch. Claude only took 2 bites before putting down his chopsticks. "Dad, I want to eat Mom's cooking." "When is Mom coming home?" Brady paused midair with his chopsticks. "Mom's busy. Focus on school, and when she comes back, I'll take you to pick her up." Hearing this, Claude finally picked up his chopsticks and resumed eating. Brady was initially certain Maxine would return soon, but as time passed, he grew uneasy. Half a month went by. Maxine remained missing without a trace, and all messages sent to her went unanswered. He even asked Maxine's dad, but Maxine's dad had no idea where she had gone. The company had also been handed over to a professional manager. Brady could no longer sit still and sent his assistant to find out where Maxine had gone. The assistant, however, reported that Maxine had changed her name, and her previous identity records had been erased. There was no way to trace her whereabouts. Brady frowned coldly and ordered, "Hire a detective to keep searching, no matter what it takes. I want her exact location within 3 days." The assistant understood perfectly. "Understood, I'll see to it." This time, the assistant worked with remarkable efficiency. It took only 2 days to uncover Maxine's new identity and current whereabouts. "Brady, I've discovered the lady changed her name. She's now called Maxine Jonathan, currently in Los Angeles." Brady flipped through the documents, his eyes darkening when he saw the man standing beside Maxine in one of the photos. "Book 2 tickets to Los Angeles for tomorrow." The assistant responded, "Understood." Brady requested leave for Claude and took him on the flight to Los Angeles. Claude could barely contain his excitement knowing they were going to see his mother. After landing, The two didn't have time to rest and headed straight to Maxine's current location, the Cotton motorcycle track. Brady led Claude into the venue. Looking around, at that moment, a red motorcycle crossed the finish line to cheers from the crowd. The rider removed their helmet amidst the cheers, revealing chestnut short hair and delicate, fair features. It was Maxine. Claude immediately let go of Brady's hand and ran towards Maxine. "Mama." Claude's childish voice caught everyone's attention. As he ran toward the motorcycle track, he completely failed to notice the bikes still racing on the course, just as he was about to step onto the track. A pair of large, bony hands scooped him up. Claude, as he was being lifted, a black motorcycle flashed past before his eyes. Frozen with fear, he didn't dare move a muscle, letting the man hold him in his arms. Everything happened too fast. Brady didn't react in time either. His heart stopped the moment the motorcycle sped by. Only when he saw his son unharmed did his heart settle back into place. Brady quickly ran to the edge of the field and took his son from the man's arms. "Thank you." As soon as he finished speaking, his expression abruptly changed upon seeing the man's face. The man was none other than Maxine's first love, Grover. At that moment, Maxine, having finished the match, walked off the field and approached the group. Claude hadn't yet recovered from the shock when he saw Maxine and instinctively reached out for a hug. "Mommy." Maxine merely glanced indifferently at Claude and stood beside Grover. "The match is over, let's go back." Claude's eyes instantly reddened when he saw his mother ignoring him. "Mommy, why won't you look at me?" Brady saw Maxine and Grover standing so close, their words dripping with intimacy, and his expression darkened further, his tone turning icy. "Maxine, didn't you see? Our son was almost hit by a car." Maxine turned to look at Brady and said, "I go by Maxine Jonathan now, not Maxine Gilbert. You've got the wrong person." With that, she took Grover's hand right in front of the father and son and made to leave. Brady saw this and immediately stepped forward to stop the two. He had intended to confront Maxine, but upon seeing Claude in her arms, he swallowed his words. "Maxine, Claude missed you terribly while you were gone. I won't delve into why you left for now, but Claude is frightened and needs you right now." As he spoke, Brady stepped forward to stand before Maxine. While Claude once again reached out toward Maxine, his voice choked with emotion. "Mom, I've missed you so much." Claude's eyes were red, and large teardrops rolled down his cheeks. Maxine gazed at the son she had carried for 10 months, recalling the scene of him sweetly calling Polly auntie, and took a few steps back. She looked at the stunned father and son before her and slowly said, "Brady, you should take the child to find his mother. Maxine, not come looking for me. Maxine. If you can't find it, you can always take him to his godmother." From the moment she decided to completely change, Maxine vowed never to compromise herself again. Since Brady kept pressing, she might as well lay all the cards on the table. After all, she was now Maxine. Maxine's affairs had nothing to do with her, and neither did Brady nor Claude concern her anymore. At the mention of godmother, the expressions of both father and son changed. They only knew Maxine was already aware they had secretly visited Polly, but didn't realize she had also discovered Claude had asked Polly to be his godmother. Claude whispered into Brady's ear, "Dad, Mom found out our secret. What should we do?" Brady didn't answer. Looking at the now ice-cold gaze of Maxine, his heart sank completely, and his arms unconsciously tightened around Claude. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep it from you. Things aren't what you think. Come back to the country with me first, and I'll explain everything clearly to you when we return." Chapter 13. Maxine said indifferently, "No need, we have no relationship now. You don't owe me any explanations, and I don't want to hear them. Excuse me." With that, Maxine took Grover by the arm and walked past the two toward the exit. As she passed by Brady, Maxine's arm was grabbed by Claude. Claude with reddened eyes clutched Maxine tightly, his voice breaking into a sob. "Mommy, why didn't you come comfort me?" Maxine turned to meet Claude's wounded gaze, gently prying his hands off as she spoke each word deliberately. "Because I don't want you anymore." Without another glance at Claude's devastated expression, she walked out side by side with Grover. Claude saw that his mother was really ignoring him now. His little mouth quivered as he wailed even louder, shouting at Maxine's retreating figure, "You're a mean mommy, I hate you." He buried himself in Brady's arms, crying so hard he could barely catch his breath. Brady had initially wanted to chase after Maxine, but seeing his son in such a state of distress, he abandoned the idea. He carried his son away from the motorcycle field and returned to the hotel, trying to calm him down. But no matter how Brady tried to comfort him, it was all in vain. Claude sobbed uncontrollably, tears streaming down his face as he kept repeating, "Bad mommy, why doesn't mommy want me anymore?" Brady was at his wits' end. He had very little parenting experience to begin with. The child had been raised by Maxine since infancy, so he had no idea how to calm the child's emotions. Just as he was at his wits' end, his phone rang. It was Polly calling. When the call connected, Polly's gentle voice came through. "Brady, I heard you went to Los Angeles to find your wife. Any luck yet?" Brady rubbed his temples. "Yeah, found it. I'll be back soon." Claude's sobs came through the receiver to Polly's ears. Her voice was full of concern. "Why do I hear Claude crying? What's wrong with him?" Brady was about to brush it off, but reconsidered and asked, "Claude had a little argument with his mom. Do you know how to calm him down? He won't stop crying. I'm worried he'll make himself sick." Hearing this, Polly responded, "Give him the phone. Let me talk to him." Brady handed the phone to Claude. "Claude, it's your godmother." Claude sobbed as he took the phone. Choking out to the person on the other end, "Godmother, why did Mom abandon me?" Polly said something unknown, and Claude gradually stopped crying. "Okay, Godmother, you need to come quickly." After saying this, he handed the phone back to Brady and got out of bed to wash his face in the bathroom. Brady, seeing this, felt relieved and thanked Polly on the other end of the line. "Thank you, it's good to have you. It's all right. Claude has grown up before my eyes too. Hearing him cry so bitterly breaks my heart as well." Polly paused before continuing. "I've booked the earliest flight to Los Angeles. When I arrive, I'll keep an eye on Claude while you go comfort your wife. After all, you're still family. She's Claude's birth mother. How could she be so heartless?" Brady didn't refuse. Maxine refused to communicate with him. Claude was moody, and he couldn't handle things alone outside. Now having Polly come to help was the best possible outcome. "Polly." "Thank you." Polly smiled faintly. "Between us, is thank you even necessary? As long as you're happy, I'm fine with anything. Get some rest early, and don't forget to pick me up at the airport tomorrow." Polly hung up the phone after speaking. At that moment, Claude finished washing his face and walked over to Brady. "Daddy, did Mommy leave us because of that uncle today?" Brady hearing this, his expression darkened as he sat up straight, pulling Claude in front of him, his tone serious. "Claude, who told you that Mommy left us because of that uncle?" Claude was so frightened by Brady's stern expression that he didn't dare move, answering truthfully, "It was something Third Aunt said when she was chatting with Grandma earlier. Third Aunt said Mom changing clothes and dyeing her hair meant she had changed her heart and didn't want to stay with Dad anymore." "Dad, is what Third Aunt said true?" Brady frowned slightly, his handsome brows knitting together as his expression grew even colder. He knew the relatives in the family always gathered to gossip about this and that. He hadn't paid attention before, but he never expected they'd go this far this time. It even reached Claude's ears. Claude is at a crucial stage of development right now. If he keeps hearing such things about his mother, it will undoubtedly affect his future growth. With this in mind, Brady adopted his serious work demeanor and spoke earnestly to Claude. "Claude, Mom didn't abandon us. She left because we did something wrong, and we kept it from her without any explanation. We were at fault first, so we can't blame Mom." As he spoke these words to his son, Brady suddenly understood his own issues too. He quickly replayed the past 8 years of marriage in his mind. Throughout this marriage, Maxine had given it her all, fully devoted to the family, fully responsible for him and their child. But what about him? He secretly Maxine gave the inheritance to someone else, even took the child to meet another woman and had them recognize her as godmother. Moreover, he frequently subjected Maxine to emotional abuse in front of their child. Put yourself in her shoes. If she were Maxine, she wouldn't stay in this household either. Brady at this thought, he momentarily struggled to find the right words to explain to his son. Claude, seeing his prolonged silence, took the initiative to ask, "Dad, if we apologize to Mom, will she forgive us?" Brady hearing this, he took a deep breath, suppressing the discomfort in his heart. He gently pinched Claude's little face. "She will, as long as we recognize our mistakes and apologize to Mom. She'll definitely forgive us." Hearing this, Claude's tightly furrowed little face finally relaxed. "Then we'll go to bed early tonight and wake up early tomorrow to find Mom. Then we'll bring her home together." "Okay." Brady took his son out for dinner, gave him a quick bath, and then put him to bed. After Claude fell asleep, Brady got up and left the bedroom. Walking to the floor-to-ceiling window, he dialed Maxine's current number using the newly acquired prepaid SIM card. After a long wait, the call was finally answered. A cold male voice speaking English came through the line. "Hello, who's this?" Brady tightened his grip on the phone upon hearing this and responded in English as well. "I'm looking for Maxine." Hearing this, the man replied directly in Chinese, "She's already asleep. Who is this? You can tell me, and I'll pass it on to her." At this, Brady could no longer maintain his composure and stated bluntly, "I am Maxine's lawful husband. Grover, I have nothing to say to you, give her the phone." Brady reviewed the information his assistant had gathered several times during the flight, which included details about Grover. He had only known that Maxine had a first love she was forced to break up with, but after marrying him, Maxine had never contacted her ex. Because he hadn't taken Maxine's first love seriously either, but he never expected that after 8 years, the two would rekindle their old flame, no matter how he felt about Maxine. He would never allow his wife to have any connection with another man. This was a matter of male dignity. On the other end of the phone, Grover let out a light chuckle when he saw Brady drop the act. "Sorry, but Maxine's current identity information shows the spouse field is blank, so, she's single now, without a husband." Brady heard this, his hand hanging by his side suddenly clenched, his eyes glinting with terrifying coldness. He had always prided himself on being composed and self-possessed. Even when faced with the most difficult cases, he could keep a clear head and remain rational. It had been a long time since he'd experienced such intense emotional turmoil. Every cell in his body was screaming, itching to go beat up Grover right now. On the other end of the phone, Grover noticed Brady's prolonged silence and spoke again. "Mr. Brady, if there's nothing else, I'll hang up now." "Wait," Brady asked directly. "What's your relationship with Maxine now?" "Whatever relationship you had with your ex is exactly what we have now." Grover's words reignited the fury in Brady's chest. "Grover, I advise you to stay away from Maxine. She's my wife, the mother of my child. She's just throwing a tantrum right now. Once she cools down, she'll come back to our country with us. No matter what happens, we're family. Don't even think about taking advantage of the situation." Grover gave a soft hum, his indifferent voice coming through the receiver. "All right, I understand, I'll pass it on to her. Is there anything else, Mr. Brady?" Seeing Grover's completely unfazed demeanor, Brady felt like he'd punched cotton. Whether trying to intimidate Grover or convince himself, Brady repeated, "Maxine is my wife. We'll never be separated." With that, he hung up the phone directly. Brady stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of his hotel room, watching the endless stream of traffic and neon lights below. Unconsciously, his mind conjured up the image of Maxine's heroic and spirited figure he had seen on the motorcycle racing track during the day. He had never seen such a vibrant Maxine before. After 8 years of marriage, Maxine had always presented herself to him as conventional and restrained, gentle in nature and even-tempered. She kept the household in perfect order, never prying into his private life, and never talked back when faced with his mother's unreasonable demands. Every time they argued, it was Maxine who apologized first. To be fair, Maxine was an utterly perfect wife. All his friends envied him for marrying Maxine. Whenever he heard such remarks, he would simply smile faintly, never taking them to heart, even finding her rather dull. Yet he didn't want to disrupt this mundane life. He intended to spend his lifetime with Maxine. As a man, he thoroughly enjoyed the sense of having such matters firmly in his grasp. He had assumed they would continue living this uneventful life. But then Maxine suddenly changed. The first time he noticed Maxine's transformation, he felt not the slightest hint of crisis. During that period, they were in a Cold War, so to him, Maxine's changes seemed like nothing more than a tantrum, an attempt to capture his attention. But he didn't like it. Like a docile cat that suddenly bared its claws one day and scratched him, his first thought wasn't to find out why the cat had lashed out and comfort it, but to file down its claws. He thought he had everything under control, unaware that it was merely his own conceit. Brady had no idea how long he'd been standing by the floor-to-ceiling window. It wasn't until the first rays of morning light streamed into the room that he snapped out of his trance. Brady rubbed his tired eyes and took a quick shower in the bathroom. After coming out of the bathroom, Claude was also awake. Claude emerged from the bedroom with messy hair, rubbing his eyes. "Dad, are we going to pick up Godmother at the airport first, then find Mom?" Brady ruffled his son's disheveled hair. "Let's eat first, then go to the airport to pick up Godmother." After washing up and changing clothes, the father and son had breakfast at the hotel restaurant before heading to the airport. Before going to the airport, Claude made a special trip to a flower shop to buy a bouquet of Siberian lilies that Polly loved. An hour later, Los Angeles International Airport, Brady and Claude waited at the arrivals gate for over an hour before finally seeing Polly emerge pushing a luggage cart. Claude ran forward at first sight of Polly, calling out loudly with a smile, "Godmother." Polly bent down to pick up Claude, kissing his little face. "Has Claude been good and listened to Daddy?" "Yes," Claude nodded repeatedly, handing the flowers in his hand to Polly. "Godmother, These flowers are for you." Polly looked at the vibrant lily in her arms, a touch of emotion flickering in her eyes. She hugged Claude tightly and said softly, "Claude, thank you for always remembering what flowers your godmother likes. You give them to me every time we meet." Claude hugged Polly back. "Because I love you, godmother, you're so good to me, and I want to be good to you too." The two were so happy together. Just like a real mother and son. If it were in the past, Brady wouldn't have found anything wrong with Claude saying this. He would only have felt gratified that the boy was so considerate and attentive at such a young age. But now, hearing Claude say these words to Polly, the first thing that came to his mind was Maxine. Both father and son knew what kind of flowers Polly liked, but neither knew what Maxine preferred. At this thought, Brady felt a twinge of guilt rise in his heart. Polly noticed Brady's unpleasant expression and stepped forward to ask, "Brady, what's wrong? Aren't you happy to see me?" Brady suppressed his tangled thoughts, looked up at Polly, and forced a faint smile. "It's nothing, just didn't rest well last night. Let's head back to the hotel first." With those words, the three of them left the airport and returned to the hotel. Brady booked a room next to his own for Polly, and after helping her with the luggage, he instructed, "Please take care of Claude for me." As soon as he finished speaking, Claude immediately protested loudly, "No, Dad, I want to go with you to find Mom." Polly was also puzzled. "Why not take Claude along? If you're worried about not having the energy to look after Claude, I can go with you. I'm a woman too. So I should have common topics with your wife. I could help persuade her." Brady shook his head. "No need, I'll go alone. You and Claude can take a walk nearby. I'll find you when I return." "No," Claude persisted, stepping forward to cling to Brady's leg. "Daddy, I don't want to walk around. Take me to find Mommy, I miss her." Brady pulled his son away, speaking sternly, "No tantrums. Dad needs to talk to Mom about something important. After we're done, I'll take you to see her tomorrow. Be good and listen to your godmother at the hotel, no running around." With that, he looked at Polly and said, "Polly, sorry to trouble you. I'll take my leave first." Polly cradled the wailing Claude in her arms, gently patting his back as she replied to Brady, "Don't worry, you can go with peace of mind. I'll definitely take good care of Claude." Brady gave a soft hum of acknowledgement before turning to leave. Claude cried even louder when he saw that his father really wasn't taking him along, squirming incessantly in Polly's arms. "Godmother, I want to go too. Will you take me to find Mommy?" Polly held Claude's little hand, a strange emotion flashing through her eyes. "All right, Godmother will take you." Claude immediately stopped crying upon hearing this and pulled Polly's hand as they headed out. "Let's hurry up, or else Dad will get too far ahead and we won't be able to catch up." Polly stopped him and explained, "Claude, don't rush. Let's wait until Dad has calmed Mom down first. That way, when Mom sees you, she won't ignore you." Claude asked skeptically, "Really? Since when have I ever lied to you?" Hearing Polly say this, Claude felt relieved and stopped crying. "All right, then we'll wait a bit longer before going." Upon hearing this, Polly curled her red lips slightly, a flash of triumph flickering in her eyes. Brady contacted his assistant back home during breakfast, instructing him to track Maxine's whereabouts and provide real-time updates. Maxine is currently on Highway 103. It was a rarely traveled highway, perfect for motorcycles and racing. Brady arrived just in time to see motorcycles flashing by one after another. He immediately spotted Maxine's signature red and blue motorcycle. The surroundings were filled with the cheers of bikers and the roaring of motorcycle engines. If it weren't for waiting for Maxine, in such a noisy environment, Brady would have turned and left immediately. Brady stood by the roadside with a cold, grim expression, waiting for Maxine. The red and blue motorcycle circled the highway again and again. Just as Brady's patience was about to run out, the sound of brakes screeched nearby. Maxine got off the bike, removed her helmet, her newly dyed red hair dazzling under the sunlight, her figure perfectly wrapped in a tight black motorcycle suit. She smoothed the sweat-dampened hair from her forehead, her almond-shaped eyes brimming with satisfaction. Brady was about to step forward when a woman in a brown leather jacket rushed past him and fiercely embraced Maxine. "Maxine, those laps you just ran were so badass. This is the real you. This is the Maxine I know." The woman was none other than Maxine's best friend Aurora. Maxine leaned against her beloved car, jingling the keys in her hand. "I really owe it to you for traveling all this way to help me modify my motorcycle. What would I do without you?" Aurora patted her chest in response. "Don't worry, as long as you ride, I'll keep tuning it for you." Brady watched Maxine leaning casually against the motorcycle. Radiant and carefree, his eyes flashing with awe as his heart skipped a beat. Moments later, he pushed through the crowd and stopped in front of Maxine. "Maxine, Can we talk? In the middle of chatting with Aurora, Maxine stopped mid-sentence the moment she saw Brady, her smiling lips falling into a straight line. Aurora turned her head following Maxine's gaze, and upon seeing Brady, blurted out, "What are you doing here?" "You are," Brady frowned, "at their wedding." Aurora had attended as Maxine's bridesmaid, yet even so, Brady still didn't remember Aurora. To be precise, Maxine had friends around her, but he couldn't remember a single one of them, nor had he ever thought to learn about them. After 8 years of marriage, he simply didn't care Maxine made friends with whom, nor did he care about her private life. Aurora heard Brady's genuinely puzzled tone, and a fire suddenly flared up in her chest. They say if you want to know whether a man cares about you, just observe his attitude toward your friends. Clearly, Brady didn't care about Maxine at all. Otherwise, how could he not even recognize her? Aurora had crossed paths with Brady many times, but each time, Brady would only give a faint nod before hurrying away. The two had never exchanged a single word, yet even so, Brady still didn't remember her. At this thought, Aurora immediately darkened her expression, feeling indignant on behalf of her best friend. "Brady, Maxine marrying you was the worst luck in 8 lifetimes. You're not worthy of her at all." Aurora's voice was so loud that all the bikers present turned to look at the trio, but intimidated by Brady's overwhelming aura, none dared to step forward. Brady remained expressionless, his thin lips parting slightly. "This is my family matter. I'd appreciate it if you stayed out of it." Aurora fumed, opening her mouth to continue questioning Brady, but was stopped by Maxine. Maxine pulled her best friend behind her and met Brady's gaze directly. "Brady, do you really not know her?" Brady looked up at Aurora again upon hearing this, searching his mind for any recognition of her face. After a long pause, Brady's eyes returned to Maxine as he shook his head. "I don't know you." Hearing these 3 words, Maxine felt a surge of desolation in her heart. This marriage was truly a failure, because Brady didn't value her. Even her friends were humiliated along with her. Maxine suppressed her discomfort, pulled Aurora to her side, and said to Brady, "Her name is Aurora, my best friend, my closest confidant. 8 years ago, she was my bridesmaid and spent a day with you at our wedding. Over the past 8 years, you've met her many times, Brady. If you had paid even the slightest attention to me, you wouldn't have forgotten her face, wouldn't have dared say you didn't recognize her." Maxine paused, let out a light laugh, then continued, "I know exactly what you came here to tell me today. It's nothing more than wanting to explain that you and Polly have no relationship, asking me not to overthink it, not to make unreasonable scenes, to obediently follow you back home, and continue playing the role of the virtuous wife and mother in others' eyes, the perfect daughter-in-law of the Fitzgerald family, your devoted wife, Claude's loving mother. But why should I be the one to suffer and accommodate everyone else? Brady, from the moment I changed my name to Maxine, there hasn't been a single connection between you, me, and the Fitzgerald family. You don't need to say anything more. I won't be going back with you. And please don't disturb my new life anymore." With those words, Maxine leaned back against her motorcycle, crossing her arms as she coldly stared at Brady. Aurora couldn't help but applaud when she saw this scene. "So handsome, Maxine, you're even cooler than when you were riding the motorcycle just now." Upon hearing these words, Brady's expression visibly darkened, the atmosphere around him dropping several degrees, when he saw Maxine's icy, emotionless gaze directed at him. A wave of irritation instantly surged in his heart. In his plans, Maxine wasn't supposed to be like this. Even if their marriage lacked love, they should still treat each other with respect, not look at one another with such cold indifference. Brady took a deep breath, suppressing the irritation in his heart. "Even if you changed your name, you're still my wife, still Claude's mother. The bond between us can never be severed in this lifetime. This place is too noisy. Let's go somewhere quiet to talk properly and clear up the misunderstandings." As he spoke, Brady reached out to take Maxine's hand, but Maxine shook him off abruptly. "Mr. Grover, the Fitzgeralds can certainly afford medical care. If your ears and comprehension are failing, I suggest you seek treatment immediately." Maxine finished speaking, put her helmet back on, swung onto her motorcycle, and rode away with Aurora in tow. Brady stood watching the motorcycle's exhaust fumes, his hands involuntarily clenching into fists. Maxine had changed. She had become brighter, more vivacious, more unrestrained, and more flamboyant than before, yet she had also become more heartless, more indifferent, and no longer loved him. As the motorcycle was about to vanish from sight, Brady snapped out of his daze and turned to stride toward the Rolls-Royce he'd arrived in. On Highway 103, a red and blue motorcycle sped past, with a black Rolls-Royce in hot pursuit. Seated behind on the motorcycle, Aurora spotted the Rolls-Royce tailing them through the rearview mirror. She tapped Maxine on the shoulder and leaned in to shout into her ear, "Brady is still chasing us, lose him." "Okay." Maxine, as soon as the words left her lips, she tightened her grip on the handlebars, revved the throttle, and executed a perfect drift into the side road. The motorcycle's drift kicked up a cloud of yellow sand, obscuring Brady's vision. By the time the dust settled, Maxine's figure had vanished from sight. Brady pulled over to the roadside and slammed the steering wheel in frustration. He never knew that his always docile and sensible wife had such an unknown side to her. Maxine's drift just now was smooth as flowing clouds, clearly honed from years of riding motorcycles. Yet in their 8 years of marriage, she had never shown the slightest hint of it. Before marrying Maxine, his heart and eyes were completely filled with Polly. Even though the Fitzgerald family and the Gilbert family were close and frequently visited each other, he never once thought of taking the initiative to get to know Maxine, not before marriage, and even less so after. In his memory, Maxine always appeared before him in the same classic Chanel-style suits, with sleek, shoulder-length black hair meticulously styled. After marriage, the only change in Maxine was that her Chanel-style suits transformed into high-society lady attire. Her hair now elegantly pinned up with pearl clips, the picture of a nearly perfect virtuous wife and devoted mother. It now appears that Maxine has been pretending all along. She concealed her true self, suppressed her nature, and dutifully played the role of a virtuous wife and mother for 8 years in front of everyone. At this moment, he even felt some admiration for Maxine. Collecting his thoughts, Brady took out his phone and instructed his assistant to reconnect with the private investigator to locate Maxine's current whereabouts. 5 minutes later, the assistant sent the location to Brady. After entering the navigation, he restarted the car and headed to Maxine's location. On the other side, Maxine rode her motorcycle with Aurora, left Highway 103, and after dropping her off at her place in Los Angeles, called Grover. The phone was picked up after just 2 rings. Grover said in his magnetic voice, "We've only been apart for a short while, and you already miss me." Hearing this, Maxine blushed slightly and coughed lightly. "Since when did you become so smooth talking?" Grover sighed softly, his tone full of melancholy. "It's just that I've been apart from someone for too long. I'm afraid if I stay as dense as before, I might lose my wife again." Maxine noticed him steering the conversation off track and quickly brought it back. "All right, I called to ask when you're getting off work. I'll come pick you up. I might be late tonight. There's a video conference to attend. You can look around first. I'll message you when I'm done." Grover replied, "All right, you go ahead with your work. See you tonight." With that, Maxine hung up the phone. She put away her phone and rode her motorcycle to a nearby park. Planning to wait until sunset before heading to Grover's company to meet him, Maxine parked her motorcycle, unzipped her riding jacket to reveal the camisole underneath, and walked toward the roadside bench. After just 2 steps, someone grabbed her wrist from behind, Brady's familiar voice following immediately. "Maxine, there's no one else around now. Let's talk properly." "Okay." Feeling the warm touch on her wrist, Maxine furrowed her brows tightly, her expression full of disdain. She raised her hand trying to shake off Brady, but the difference in strength between men and women was too great, and Brady held on tightly. She struggled for a long time but couldn't break free. Brady's gaze fixed directly on Maxine, his tone serious and earnest. "I won't let go unless you're willing to hear me out." Maxine had no choice but to relent. "Fine, I'll listen. Let's hear how you plan to explain this." Only when she conceded did Brady release Maxine. The two walked over and sat down on a bench by the roadside. Brady didn't speak immediately, instead taking his first careful, earnest look at Maxine. If not for her unchanged features, he could hardly believe the woman before him was his gentle, ever-patient wife. Maxine felt extremely uncomfortable under Brady's gaze, rubbing her reddened wrist where he had gripped her. She glared coldly. "Spit it out if you have something to say. I've got things to do." Brady finally averted his gaze, cleared his throat softly, and spoke slowly. "I was wrong to hastily decide the will matters without consulting you. I apologize. Polly hasn't had a boyfriend all these years, never got married, and has no children. After all, we were once together. I don't want to see her grow old without anyone to rely on, so that will was just to give her some security. As for you and me, we still have Claude. Both the Grovers and Gilbert family fortunes will eventually be handed over to him, so you don't need to worry at all about having no one to care for you or rely on in your old age, if it really bothers you. After we return home, I'll revise the will again, setting aside your portion and having it notarized to guarantee your rights. Would that be acceptable? Maxine's previously impatient expression froze momentarily when she heard Brady's final question. This was Brady's first time using a consultative tone to ask for her opinion, yet the timing couldn't have been worse. Maxine turned her head, met Brady's expectant gaze, and spoke coldly. Brady, your inquiry is meaningless. If you truly wanted to do this, you wouldn't have come asking for my opinion, you'd have done it first and then presented it to me directly. What are you trying to prove by saying this? That you've finally deigned to respect my opinion, that I should be grateful to you, moved to tears by your concession, and revert to being that docile Maxine who obediently follows you back home to continue serving your entire family. Maxine spoke each word as Brady's expression darkened further. She had neither the mood nor desire to speculate about Brady's shifting emotions now. After a pause, she continued, as for what you said about me needing to rely on Claude when I'm old, that's utterly ridiculous. I have hands and feet, plus shares in 5 listed companies and the Gilbert family holdings. How could I possibly need to depend on an ungrateful wretch when I'm old? As long as I have money, what kind of elderly care services can't I get? Why should I keep suppressing my temper to take care of you two, a father and son who never truly cared about me, just for some distant old age that may never come? When Maxine called Claude an ungrateful wretch, Brady's face darkened completely, his voice icy. Claude is the son you carried for 10 months, how could you say such things about him? Maxine shrugged indifferently. Am I wrong? Claude now calls Polly godmother at every turn, jumps at her every request, but treats me with indifference and impatience. How exactly do you see him as any kind of safeguard for my old age? As soon as she finished speaking, she heard Claude's childish voice ring out nearby. Mama. Maxine turned toward the sound and saw Claude running toward her with a bouquet of carnations. Mom, these are for you, Claude said, pushing the carnations into Maxine's arms. Maxine did not, as Claude had anticipated, happily accept the flowers while ruffling his hair with a thank you. She set the carnations aside, looked at Claude, and said flatly, thank you. But I don't like carnations, don't bring them again. As soon as she finished speaking, Polly gracefully approached. Mrs. Fitzgerald, this is the child's kind gesture. Even if you don't like them, it's best not to say it that way, otherwise the child will be very hurt. Before Maxine could speak, Brady stood up first, positioning himself between them, blocking their gazes. He looked at Polly. His brow slightly furrowed. Didn't I ask you to wait for me at the hotel? Why did you bring Claude here? Claude kept crying for his mom, so I thought I'd bring him over. I also wanted you all to sit down as a family and clear the air, to resolve the misunderstanding sooner. Polly finished speaking, then stepped past Brady and extended her hand to Maxine. Mrs. Fitzgerald, hello. Although you've known me for 8 years, I'd still like to formally introduce myself. My name is Polly. A good friend of Brady, and also the godmother of Claude. Recalling the past, this time Maxine showed no trace of embarrassment, her expression completely composed as she stood up and shook hands with Polly. Hello, I'm Maxine, not Mrs. Fitzgerald, nor anyone's wife, nor anyone's mother. I hope Miss won't make that mistake again next time. Brady looked at the scene with confusion in his eyes. What, 8 years ago? Hearing this, Polly turned to Brady. A faint smile playing at the corners of her lips. Brady, you might not know this, but Miss Maxine has been keeping an eye on. Maxine cut off Polly mid-sentence and directly admitted, following her lead, for the 8 years I've been married to you, I've been watching Polly for 8 years. So I know everything that's happened between you two during this time. The moment these words fell, Brady's pupils trembled, his gaze shifting rapidly between the two women. He thought Maxine had just accidentally seen Polly's social media post and learned about the will. Little did he know Maxine was aware of everything. In an instant, everything became clear. Brady composed himself, clenched his palms tightly, and struggled to control his emotions as he asked Maxine, so, all of this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, but something you'd planned long ago, is that it? You'd already planned to leave me and Claude, hadn't you? Maxine shook her head expressionlessly. If I hadn't seen that will, I might have settled for spending my whole life with you. Never finding the resolve to leave so decisively, she paused, as if remembering something, her eyes filled with quiet resolution. Brady, I should actually thank you. Thank you for helping me find the resolve to end this wrong marriage. Thank you for giving me the courage to be myself again. I don't want to dwell on the past that belonged to Maxine anymore. Now I just want to live each day that belongs to Maxine to the fullest. As the last word faded, Maxine felt the weight on her shoulders completely disappear. She was utterly at peace. The other 3 people present showed different expressions upon hearing Maxine's words. Polly, a flicker of surprise flashed through her eyes before she quickly composed herself, her lips curving into a polite smile. Claude tears gradually welled up in his large eyes. Though young, he understood the implication in his mother's words. It truly seemed she was abandoning him. Brady stared unblinkingly at Maxine, searching her face for any trace of deception, but found none. Maxine was the picture of indifference, standing still as Brady scrutinized her. Only at this moment did Brady truly panic, his heart aching with a throbbing pain as if a piece of it were missing. It wasn't until Claude's sobs sounded in his ears that he was pulled back to reality. Claude cried as he stepped forward, clenching his fists and repeatedly hitting Maxine, saying between strikes, "Bad mommy, I won't let you say that, you can't leave me." Maxine looked down at the son she had carried for 10 months, seeing the hatred and resentment in his eyes toward her, and couldn't help but feel a pang of pain in her heart. Claude was raised by her own hands, pampered since childhood. The elders of both the two families doted on him, giving him whatever he wanted, Claude, and as a result, he became utterly spoiled and increasingly ill-tempered. One person disciplines, 100 indulge. Maxine, whenever she tried to correct his behavioral issues, someone would always interfere. Claude, being young, naturally preferred his doting grandmother and relatives who never disciplined him, growing increasingly resentful of his mother's strictness. But he had never thought about being separated from his mother. In his memory, no matter what outrageous things he did, his mother would always patiently coax him and never leave him. But today, after hearing his mother's words with his own ears, Claude, his young heart suffered a tremendous shock. He didn't realize at all that it was his own behavior that had caused his mother's heartbreak and departure. Still lost in his own world where he believed everyone should spoil him, Claude kept crying uncontrollably. Maxine pulled him away with a cold expression. "Claude, have you forgotten? You were the one who abandoned me first." Hearing this, Claude had teardrops the size of beans hanging at the corners of his eyes, unable to speak for a long while. Nearby, Polly stepped forward and bent down to hug Claude in her arms, looking at Maxine with slight reproach. "Miss Seong, Claude was practically raised by you. Seeing him cry like this, don't you feel the slightest bit of heartache? How can you be so cruel?" Maxine let out a light laugh, completely indifferent. "Didn't you say you dreamed of starting a family with Brady and having your own child? Now your dream has come true. You have both the man and the child. May your family of 3 live happily together." With these words, Maxine averted her gaze and walked past the trio toward the parking lot. Claude cried even harder when he saw Maxine was truly leaving. At this moment, he genuinely understood fear, struggling incessantly in Polly's arms while calling out to Maxine's retreating figure, "Mom, don't go." Hearing Claude's cries, Maxine kept walking without pausing or turning her head. Brady felt utterly disoriented. The feeling of losing control was unbearable. He turned and instructed Polly, "Keep an eye on Claude for me. Don't let him follow." With these words, he stepped forward to catch up with Maxine. Maxine had already reached her motorcycle and was just picking up her helmet to put it on when the approaching Brady stopped her. "Maxine, I admit you've suffered a lot over these 8 years, and both Claude and I have treated you terribly, but after all, we're family. When problems arise, we should solve them. Why must you be so resolute? Even if you hate me, what about Claude? He's the child you raised with your own hands, the baby you carried for 10 months. Can you really bear to leave him?" Maxine, hearing this, set down her helmet and turned to meet Brady's gaze. "Why would I be reluctant? So many people dote on him. Even without me by his side, he'd live just fine. Besides, didn't he say his godmother treats him better than I do? I'm just giving him and you what you want." She emphasized the last 2 words, Maxine speaking with deliberate seriousness. Brady felt a tremor in his heart, his voice uncharacteristically flustered. "I told you, nothing ever happened between Polly and me. I just pitied her illness. So I paid her a little more attention." "You, Brady," Maxine interrupted him. "Why are you explaining so much to me? You don't love me, and I've decided to set you free. Can't we just end this decently?" Brady choked on his words. He didn't know why he had stopped Maxine, nor why he felt compelled to explain so much to her. Seeing his prolonged silence, Maxine spoke again. "Brady, don't tell me you've only just realized your feelings for me, that the one you truly love is actually me. Even if you dared to say it, I wouldn't believe it." Hearing this, Brady's eyelashes trembled slightly as he slowly withdrew his hand, no longer stopping Maxine. After a long while, he raised his eyes to look at Maxine and said honestly, "I'm sorry, I can't quite define my feelings for you right now, but the one thing I'm certain of is that I've never thought of being apart from you. I want to keep living with you. Everything that happened before was my fault. I'll go back and sort it all out properly." Then come find you again, Span." With those words, Brady gave Maxine a deep look before turning to leave. Maxine paid no heed to his words, mounting her motorcycle to go find Grover. On the other side, Claude felt a surge of unease upon seeing Brady return alone, struggling free from Polly's arms to run up to Brady. "Where's Mom?" Brady avoided a direct answer. "Let's go home first. We'll come back another time. Isn't Mom coming home with us?" Claude pressed urgently. "Let's go." Brady took his son's hand and walked out. After saying this, Polly walked beside Brady, pondering for a long while before speaking. "Brady, you and your wife," before she could finish, Brady interrupted. "Polly, thank you for coming all this way to help take care of Claude. You've worked hard today." Polly understood and tactfully dropped the previous topic. "It's nothing. After all, I'm Claude's godmother. Taking care of him is what I should do. You can always trouble me." Brady simply uttered a quiet thank you upon hearing this, then fell silent. Nearby, Claude wanted to ask where their mother had gone, but seeing Brady's visibly grim expression, didn't dare press further. The three rested at the hotel for a day before setting off on their journey back home. Claude became withdrawn and taciturn after returning to their home country. Another family gathering. Brady brought Claude back to the old house. Brady's mom noticed only the father and son had returned, unconsciously furrowing her brows. "Maxine, where's?" She only knew Maxine hadn't been home for a long time. Unaware of what had happened, Claude heard this, pouted his little mouth, and threw himself into Grandma's arms. "Grandma, Mom doesn't want me anymore." Brady's mom immediately pressed for an explanation upon hearing this. Brady only said Maxine was busy with work out of town, without elaborating further. Even if he didn't say it, Brady's mom could find out. She contacted the butler of Cloud Harbor Villa, and after getting a general understanding of the situation, she directly called Maxine, who was far away in Los Angeles. Maxine was on a date with Grover at the winery. She had long memorized the phone numbers of the Fitzgerald family by heart, so when she saw the call was from Brady's mom, she hung up immediately. Grover noticed and asked, "Is it Brady calling?" "No." Maxine removed the SM card from her phone and tossed it into the nearby fountain before turning to Grover. "Get me another one." Grover understood without needing to ask further, simply nodding in response. "All right." No sooner had his words faded than Maxine stepped forward and wrapped her arms tightly around him, burying her face in his chest. "Grover, thank goodness you're here." Grover raised his arms to embrace Maxine back. "Just be yourself. I'll always be your greatest support." Hearing this, Maxine looked up, stood on her tiptoes, and pecked Grover on the lips. "Then can I go play racing cars with Aurora tomorrow?" Upon hearing this, Grover cupped Maxine's face with his hands, looking serious. "No. The injuries from riding the motorcycle last week haven't healed yet. The doctor said you need to rest this month, but I don't even feel any pain anymore. That still won't do." "Grover, you don't love me anymore. It's because I love you that I won't let you go." With those words, Grover took the still bargaining Maxine by the hand and led her toward the vineyard. "Let's go. Didn't you say you wanted to try making wine? Come with me to pick grapes." The two bickered noisily as they walked toward the vineyard. On the other side, Brady's mom couldn't get through to Maxine on her phone, and her patience was wearing thin. She called Brady and demanded sharply, "What on earth is going on with Maxine? Does she even have this family in her eyes? Does she even care about Claude anymore? Mom, don't interfere with this matter. I'll handle it properly." With that, Brady left with his son. After the two had left, Brady's mom rubbed her temples and called Maxine's dad on the phone. Brady's mom recounted the recent events to Maxine's dad. Maxine's dad has been on business trips out of town and barely sees Maxine a few times a year. Ever since Maxine's dad forced Maxine to break up with Grover and enter a marriage of convenience with Brady, the relationship between father and daughter has grown increasingly distant. Despite being biological relatives, they interact like strangers. After finishing the call with Brady's mom, Maxine's dad weighed the interests involved between the two families, then had his assistant track down Maxine's current phone number and made the call. Maxine hesitated for a moment upon seeing her father's call, but ultimately answered. As soon as she answered, before Maxine's dad could speak, she said bluntly, "I won't come back. Over the years, I've given enough to the Gilbert family. The debt of raising me has been repaid in full. If you still want to collaborate with the Fitzgeralds, rely on your own abilities. Don't think of sacrificing me again." Maxine's dad remained silent for a long time before finally saying, "If you're unhappy outside, come back. The Gilbert family will always be yours. What happened before? I'm sorry, my child." With those words, Maxine's dad hung up the phone without waiting for Maxine to respond. Maxine stared blankly at the suddenly ended call screen, lost in thought for a long time. Time passed in the blink of an eye. Brady had been back from Los Angeles for half a year now. During these 6 months, he became increasingly certain that his life couldn't be complete without Maxine. Though daily routines remained the same, life without Maxine was like food without salt, utterly flavorless and dull. Claude kept asking him when Mommy would come back. When would they go find Mommy? Brady didn't know how to answer. So he could only vaguely promise to take him to find Mommy when he got time off. That day, Brady wrapped up a difficult case and went drinking at a bar with his friend Andy. As one of Brady's few close friends, Andy naturally knew all about his situation with Maxine. Andy poured a drink for Brady. "Still haven't figured out your feelings for Maxine. You planning to keep dragging this out?" Brady downed his drink in one gulp and shook his head without speaking. Seeing this, Andy pressed further. "What about Polly? Do you still love her?" Brady paused mid-pour at the question and answered truthfully, "I don't know." Andy pondered for a moment, then snatched Brady's glass. "I get it. The most important thing for you now is to determine what's truly in your heart. Cut the Gordian knot. Tomorrow, ask Polly out and spend the day with her like you used to when dating. See if you still feel that spark for her. If you do, stop thinking about Maxine and stay with Polly. If not, go find Maxine immediately, swallow your pride to apologize, then confess your feelings to reconcile." Brady remained silent for a long while before nodding. "All right." The next day, Brady invited Polly to the Rainbow Sky Wetland Manor, a place they often visited during their courtship. He recreated their past dates, fishing together, taking walks, and hiking the mountains. As night fell, they watched fireworks from the mountaintop. When leaving the manor, Polly still couldn't get enough. Brady drove her home. The car stopped in front of Polly's apartment building, but neither of them got out. Polly sat in the passenger seat, recalling the day's events, her lips curling into an unconscious smile. Maxine had changed her name and severed all ties with Brady. Today Brady took the initiative to ask her out again, which she interpreted as his intention to reconcile with her. She had actually been considering this idea for a long time, but due to her poor health and Brady's mom's opposition, she had to suppress the thought. Now that Maxine has left on her own, Brady has a child, and Brady's mom has grown old. There are no obstacles between them anymore. They can be together without any reservations. At this thought, Polly smiled even more deeply, but she didn't take the initiative to bring it up. Instead, quietly waiting for Brady to speak first, sitting in the driver's seat, Brady recalled every moment from today's date with Polly, realizing his heart remained completely calm. Not a trace of that once familiar flutter remained. At this moment, he finally became certain he no longer loved Polly. Polly waited for a long time, but never heard Brady speak. Just as she could no longer contain herself and was about to broach the subject first, Brady spoke simultaneously with her. "Brady, let's start over. Polly, I don't love you anymore." Two voices rang out simultaneously. Polly took a long moment to process this, her eyes filled with disbelief. "What did you say?" Brady felt the invisible boulder that had been weighing on his chest for half a year vanish the moment he spoke those words, leaving him light as air. He turned to meet Polly's astonished gaze and spoke candidly. "Polly, I admit all these years, I've never been able to let you go, even after marriage. I couldn't help caring about you. I know you feel the same way. I thought as long as we didn't cross the line, there wouldn't be any problems. But I was wrong. I completely overlooked my wife's feelings. Ever since she left, my heart has been in turmoil. That's why I asked you out today. I needed to confirm my feelings. Now, I'm finally certain. The person I love now is Maxine. I'm sorry, Polly, I used you." Tomorrow, a sum of money will be transferred to your account, enough to ensure you never have to worry about finances for the rest of your life. As he spoke, Brady unbuckled his seatbelt. "Consider this car compensation for wasting your time today. Let's not see each other again." As the words fell, Brady opened the car door and turned away without hesitation, his movements filled with resolve. Polly opened her mouth to call him back, but her throat seemed clogged with cotton. Unable to utter a single sound, she could only watch helplessly as Brady walked away. In the end, all her unwillingness dissolved into tears, pouring out uncontrollably. Brady, the moment he recognized his true feelings, immediately had his assistant locate Maxine's whereabouts and rushed over with their son. The father and son rushed to a church according to the location. As they pushed open the door, they saw Maxine in a wedding dress, marrying Grover. Brady froze on the spot, while Claude's eyes instantly reddened as he realized what was happening. Just as he was about to call out Mom, Grover's bodyguard covered his mouth and escorted him out of the church. Brady was also asked to leave. Claude stood outside the church, weeping uncontrollably. Daddy, why didn't we come sooner? Mom married someone else. She doesn't want me anymore. Brady remained in shock until the church doors swung open again. Only when the bridal-gowned Maxine stood before him did he snap back to reality. Grover whispered into Maxine's ear, "I'll be right nearby. Come find me when you're done." With that, he turned and left with his entourage of bodyguards. Brady felt his eyes sting from the blinding whiteness of Maxine's wedding gown. He stepped forward and grasped Maxine's hand. "Maxine, I've thought long and hard about this. I'm certain the one I love is you." My care for Polly was just lingering reluctance. "Let's start over. Okay, this time, I'll love you properly." Claude also rushed forward to hug Maxine's waist, sobbing, "Mom, I know I was wrong. Please don't abandon me. I won't give you those carnations you dislike anymore. I'll bring you endless Lysianthus instead. Please come home with me." Father and son stood with red-rimmed eyes, waiting expectantly for Maxine's response. Maxine merely expressionlessly pushed the two apart, took half a step back, and said, "6 months ago. I made it clear to you, I won't dwell on the past, and I won't be going back. Grover and I have already applied to get married in Germany. Now, we're completely done. Brady, once I've made up my mind, I won't look back. Take your child and go home. Don't come looking for me again." With that, Maxine lifted the hem of her dress, turned, and walked toward Grover without a backward glance. Brady and Claude tried to step forward but were blocked by Grover's bodyguards. Left standing helplessly as they watched Maxine and Grover walk away hand in hand, at this moment, regret overwhelmed both father and son. The last shred of fantasy shattered with Maxine's departure. They had completely lost Maxine. The two returned home, utterly heartbroken. Brady became colder and more distant than before, and Claude grew even more silent than he had been. During that time, the two went abroad several times to look for Maxine, still hoping to mend things. But when the two of them saw from afar Maxine's genuine smile, they couldn't bring themselves to speak and could only leave resentfully. Polly also came to see Brady a few times, but was repeatedly turned away. Gradually, she gave up hope. Brady last heard news of Polly 10 years later. Polly had passed away from a hereditary illness. She had no relatives, so the hospital could only contact her emergency contact, Brady. Brady held a funeral for Polly and handled her affairs. Later, he took Claude to Los Angeles to meet Maxine once. Time can change many things. 10 years had passed, and the hearts of all three had changed. The three sat in the cafe chatting peacefully all afternoon. Claude rarely wore a smile, but now one graced his face. He kept telling Maxine about things that had happened at school, even showing her videos of himself in various competitions, and mentioned he was preparing to study abroad in Los Angeles. Maxine, upon hearing this, simply nodded and said not bad, then offered no further opinion. Brady also told her about some things that had happened at home. "Maxine, make time to visit more often. My mother's health isn't what it used to be. Over the years, she's come to realize many things and deeply regrets how difficult she was with you back then. She wants to apologize to you in person. And Claude's grandfather misses you too." The three of them chatted for a while longer. As the sun was about to set, Grover came to the cafe to pick up Maxine. Maxine smiled and took his arm, waving goodbye to the father and son. Just as she turned away, Brady called out to her, "Maxine, are you happy now?" Maxine turned around, the evening glow now illuminating her figure with a soft halo as she nodded without hesitation. "Of course, I'm very happy, truly blessed." With these words, she turned and linked arms with Grover, striding forward with purpose. Brady stood rooted to the spot, watching her retreating figure as he murmured to himself, "Maxine, may you be happy forever." The end.